What's up, everybody? This is Brian here to tell you about our podcast, Bingetown TV. Our hosts include 7 best friends with a love for all things television. We cover a range of genres with a focus on fantasy and sci-fi, but also dip our feet into drama, horror, comedy, and pretty much anything we think is good television. We use the traditional deep dive formula for new live shows that are released week to week, but our calling card is our Rooks and Vets and Pitchtown TV series. Rooks and Vets pairs 2 of our hosts that have seen a show with 2 of our hosts that have not seen a show. Pitchtown TV is when we have a special guest pitch us a show by having us watch the pilot and trying to convince us to watch the rest. If you're craving more content on some of your favorite TV shows, then you should listen to Bingetown TV. Find us on our website at bingetowntv.com, the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, or wherever else you may find your podcast.
Meanwhile, in New Jersey...
So, Marissa, what talking points do you want to hit on in this week's episode?
Well, Jackie, let's talk about how the film addresses the patriarchy. Ooh, and representation of marginalized people. Ooh, and even philosophical ramifications of good versus evil in horror.
We can point out the triangle boobs, talk about the blood splatter, and the practical effects. And also the male gaze?
My gaze at the males.
Hi-yo! From feminism to fangirling, the Jersey Ghouls cover all the bases of horror from a woman's perspective.
New episodes are uploaded every other Sunday.
Just search Jersey Ghouls to find us on social media and your favorite podcasting app.
We're here to entertain you. We'll sing your song.
Hey there. Are you obsessed with things that happened before your time? Well, if you are, join me, the host of Before My Time, Kelsey Laurie, to discuss the wonders of the yesteryears that we weren't around to enjoy ourselves. You can find us on all podcast platforms.
Soon you'll be swaying, so come on, sing along.
Everybody, we are back with another episode of Horror Movie Night. You know, last week we got a little bit of classiness on this show and talked about Suspiria, a film that often shows up on many a greatest horror movies of all time list, but that ain't how Horror Movie Night's supposed to go. So now we're going back to the basics. We're going back to what this show was built on here for episode 551.
We're not gonna phone it in anymore.
Oh, God damn it. Well, okay, so let's start there. Hilariously, the title of this movie, 976 Evil, was quickly obsolete. In the late 80s, 976 was the go-to telephone exchange at the time. It was a popular premium rate phone number. And then literally by the early 90s, it was completely replaced with 1-900 numbers. Yeah. So it was like within 2 years of this movie coming out, this title made astronomically less sense. Because I was confused by the significance of 976 when I first heard about this title in like the mid to late 90s. I was like, what the hell does that mean?
I didn't even know that it actually, I didn't know that it was equatable to a 1-900 or 1-800. I just thought it was it just kind of rolled off the tongue well enough. I mean, this is good. Movies with hashtags as in their titles will have more longevity than 976 Evil did and has, which is also painful.
Yeah, that's
in its own way.
To know. Yeah, fear.net has
had
exactly
a longer,
where
my mind was going.
Or fear.com has a longer life shelf than this one did.
This real quick question before we get into the meat.
Damn, that would have been a good double feature. Shit.
Yeah. Well, you can still have it.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't gotten a double features yet.
I got one.
Did you guys ever try? Okay, this might be the You don't have to answer this question, but I think that it would be funny if you did. Did you guys ever call one of those 1-900 sex phone lines as a kid and just listen to the 20-second blurb of women like, "What? This is 1-900 suck you."
I was
did
able to
not.
finish before the infomercial was done, so I never had to call the number.
So my answer to that is no, but the phone number, I've talked about the box before on here. I think it was like a music. It was a music channel that you called this 900 number, and you could request a music video play on your TV.
What?
Oh yeah, I do remember this story.
Yeah, that was the thing that I ran up our phone bill with.
Yeah, but it's not a phone
that.
bill, dude. The 900 numbers, you had to have a credit card.
Yeah.
So
you could get the messages before, but until the credit card was in, you weren't going to get past
you couldn't
that
speak
point.
to a real woman. You could only listen to.
So you just checked out the menu on loop.
No. I wasn't actually pleasuring myself. It was just a naughty thing to do. But I mean, Kyle is really efficient.
Yeah.
He didn't even need to listen to it on loop. He said
Listen,
so. There we
and
go.
You know what? My parents still love me.
Yeah.
So
I don't know
owe
if
them
either.
anything.
I don't know if either one of you was ever a listener of the Reply All podcast, but there is a pretty good episode towards the very end of that show, which was like an investigative internet journalism show where there were multiple situations where people who were distributing COVID help information from like a government facility. Like if you have questions about COVID, dial this 900 number. And the whole thing was them trying to figure out why when you dialed the number, it took you to America's hottest phone line instead of an actual help desk. And it was basically just about how like this call center buys an absurd amount of numbers that all spell things, and that if people don't double or triple check when they're buying a phone number, they accidentally have been buying this sex line number.
Oh my God.
Accidentally in rabbit ears.
Yeah. So 976, quick factoid here that blew my mind, and I felt necessary to share with you guys, that this bizarre film is the directorial debut of Robert Englund. That I knew. It was co-written by Brian Helgeland, I think is how his name is pronounced, who, you might not know that name. I didn't recognize that name, but he got his start the same year when he wrote Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. So we already know how him and Robert Englund connected.
Yeah.
But after this, had 3 critically acclaimed scripts that he wrote in the 90s and 2000s that were Mystic River, A Knight's Tale, and his Academy Award-winning film, L.A. Confidential.
Let's go.
The writer of 976 Evil has an Academy Award on his desk for the L.A. Confidential screenplay.
You know, and it's crazy to think about, like, the trajectory of someone that we're discussing a bad movie on the show about versus, you know, Jamie Earl Haley, who, you know, tried to write Playroom.
Playroom, that's right.
And then after a very successful child acting career, and then had to wait until he was in his 50s to get his comeuppance by doing Watchmen, I guess.
It was Watchmen and Little Children back to back were kind of the big ones for him. So, you know, this is not a great movie. I do think that no matter how bad this movie is, and it's pretty bad, there is this weird, like, there's something about those late 80s horror movies that even the worst ones feel just cozy enough when you're watching it.
It was the fashion. It was 100% the fashion, because I even said, this is my third time watching this. I mean, I in my notes, I said, this is my third time watching it. Definitely my last time watching it, unless I'm strapped to a chair in, like, CCOT and being tortured. But this was the most enjoyable because my millennial nostalgia of watching horror movies from the 80s, I'm just like, I mean, I get it.
And I think that this was one of those ones where it's such a strange movie that it's almost weird it took us over 550 episodes to get
Well,
to
I need
this
to know
point.
why you picked this.
Oh, literally no reason beyond like I couldn't believe we still hadn't done it. And I was like, you know what? Like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. I think that it'll be fun. It's 90 minutes. We'll have things to talk about.
It felt like this was going to be my last time watching it too, Scott. I couldn't believe how many times before it I had before this viewing I had actually watched it.
I've
had
watched this
DVD
3 or 4 times.
Dude, I've had this DVD a long time. Like early. This is definitely an early addition to my collection. Like back when I was in high school, just starting to get into horror, and I think it's one of those things where it's like you start to get early names where you're like, okay, Robert Englund, like sure,
yes, and
he made a movie. I'm gonna buy this.
It's like, yes, he made a movie. I'm absolutely gonna buy this, right? Like, and no questions asked about what it was, and then thinking that you have. I knew that it wasn't good, but then knowing that but who else is talking about 976 Evil, right?
Yeah.
Like who else knows about 976 Evil?
That was a little bit of my thought process too. It's interesting because we did these as 2 back-to-back watches, right? Well, or at least I did. I literally watched.
I did too.
I watched
976 Evil first, which is very funny. Okay,
I watched Suspiria, and then I ran to get some Starbucks, and then came back and watched 976 Evil. So there was maybe like a 30-minute break between these 2 movies.
That's
and
brutal.
they're almost the same length. And Suspiria is a little bit longer, but moved quicker for me. It felt like watching than this, which is barely 90 minutes, but it felt like 2 hours. Like I kept checking the time on that thing.
First act, really is the first act because there's so much I don't know if it's exposition because it's not literally people telling you the story of the people that there's no world building. There's character. It's just like
existence, dude. It's not even development. It's just character existence.
Yeah, I couldn't give less of a shit about Spike and his poor financial decisions. And then also I just don't get why. I understand that they're okay, let's have the biker guy, the bad boy, be the one who first is the early adopter of 976 Evil, and then his cousin, who's a total nerd, is the one who actually gets taken over because it's supposed to be like an inversion of your expectations, right?
Yeah.
But and that works fine. I think that would work fine in the hands of a good screenplay. But it's so painful.
It's so goofy, and it's so goofy when it doesn't need to be, and not goofy
I
when
wish
it
this
could
was
be.
like 16 Candles kind of goofy.
Yeah,
I don't wish that. I think that it was written with that goofball, kind of a little bit of slapstick comedy, mixed with this weird religious trauma that I just don't. None of that really feeds into the whole point of this 900 number from hell, which is the whole point is that there is this demon or the devil himself who is seducing people and taking their souls and then possessing their bodies to do evil in the world. And so the cousin that lives with a religious, which one has the more religious fanatic guardian?
It's the one who gets possessed.
It is?
So,
okay.
So that's... So here there's a whole bunch happening here, and it is so there's a lot.
It's unnecessary.
Right? So the circumstance is that they are cousins that live together. Now the one who gets
same
possessed.
House?
That's the same. That's what I was thinking.
This is my third watch, and I've never realized there's the same house.
It's like an apartment outside of.
Okay, that makes
it's
more
sense. You're above the garage or something.
Okay.
But they are on the same property.
It is so confusing and baffling.
But it's confusing.
But from that, I have to say that one of the other issues, I think the other problem with this movie, like you said, the subversion of you think the bad boy's going to be possessed and it actually ends up being his dorky cousin. I think the complaint of this movie is equal to the complaint of Jack Nicholson's casting in The Shining is You literally cast a character whose most famous other movie roles have been dork that gets possessed by evil. like that has been his calling card for almost a decade at this point. Like, if this was like, if that character was like a young Michael J. Fox or something, like, talk about a successful expectation, like rug being pulled out from underneath you, that like the person who's the prototypical hero of these movies is the villain of the movie. That would be awesome. But yeah, I also think that like this movie's 89 minutes long. It could be 80. Like, cut this to 75, 80 minutes, like a tight, like full moon pictures movie length. Full moon pictures. But it would be that much more enjoyable if it was even just like 10 minutes shorter. Like, we just don't need this extra
would we
stuff.
even have a fucking movie if it was 10 minutes shorter?
Listen, we've talked about demonic toys, and that was 66 minutes long.
And whose choice was that to watch?
I mean, it's a masterpiece. I stand by it.
There's a procession of choices that it seems like one of the members of this show likes to continually make.
Yeah, the one who understands what this show is. All right, so the movie opens with a man being haunted by ringing phones. When he finally answers a payphone, he is blown up. And this is when we cut to some tough greaser teens playing some poker together.
They're bad.
We also meet Hoax Arthur Wilmoth. Who names their child Hoax? Well, his religious and domineering mom, Lucy, apparently.
It doesn't even feel like a real name. I thought it was a nickname.
Nope. According to Wiki, anyway, his name is Hoax.
Oh, fuck Wiki.
His Christian name is Hoax.
LA Confidential.
That's true. I'll get Brian on the line. So his cousin Spike also lives with them, which was not originally in my notes. That, again, was something I got from the Wiki. Also lives with them and is one of the bad boys that we saw playing poker. Hoax idolizes Spike, and despite the fact that Spike regularly is protecting him from bullies, he is still full of jealousy and resentment towards everything that Spike has. One of the things that Spike has is a weird bank tube to deliver messages to him in the basement. Like, I don't
understand that at all.
I don't understand the layout of this house in the slightest.
Isn't that cool, bro? Isn't that like cool family and brother stuff you do?
From each other or something.
Yeah. But even that also doesn't make sense because there's a tube running through the streets. Like, Spike finds this phone number, 976 horror, and he can get his horror scope.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Him.
It's 976 horror in the movie.
Or evil. Sorry. Yeah.
Is it? No.
Yeah, I think it's evil. I can't remember.
It doesn't fucking matter.
But he gets a horror.
It has to be evil because it has to be 7.
Yeah.
Well, so what's funny is that, like, with 900 numbers, once they moved to 900 numbers, you got the 900 and then 7 digits.
Yeah.
But this is only 7 digits before they went to the 900 numbers.
Listen, this is all baffling. But he gets his horoscope read to him, and shortly after, it rains fish while Spike is being yelled at by his...
It's raining fish.
It's raining fish.
Well, that was a solid Misfits cover that you just did right there. Danzig is going to start suing us.
But like, Barb walked in at this specific moment and was like, what the fuck is this movie and why is it raining fish? And I looked at her and said with complete sincerity, I wish I could answer that question.
It's hilarious that this woman has lived with you for years and still asks these questions. Have you ever had a good answer for her? No.
No, never.
I've stopped asking a long time ago.
This is
what would be
as
suitable?
Baffling as the fucking... What's that stupid, super long Paul Thomas Anderson movie that ends with it raining frogs? Like, this is in that same...
Magnolia?
I kept wanting to say Memento, which is not the movie.
I was like, Vanilla Sky? No, it's not Vanilla Sky.
I get those two confused all the time. Vanilla Sky and Magnolia confused all the time.
Yeah,
and they both have white things, Magnolia and Vanilla. They're both Yankee candles to me. And I don't know what to do with that.
Spike loses his interest in the hotline pretty quickly, but this is when Hoax discovers it and becomes obsessed. Now, it turns out the hotline is actually being used by Satan to corrupt mortals into his bidding, and Hoax takes to it like a fish to water with the promise of love and revenge. Like most people who are raised religious. Hoax,
What are you trying to say there, sir?
we call them white nationalist Christians now. This was the preemptive of that.
This is the beginning.
Hoax becomes more and more possessed by Satan, even growing claws and slashing one of his bullies in the face. I do think.
Oh, did you write down the quote from that moment?
Is it when he says, like, let people know that I'm not to be bullied anymore? Or is there like a kill line that he has?
So Hoax is about to get, I guess, beat up in the bathroom again, because usually he's just getting swirlies or whatever.
Yeah,
getting dunked in a toilet. And then he like brings out his claws, and the buddy of the guy who gets his face slashed he sees the guy's face and he goes, "Oh man, he cut you, man. He cut you so bad. He fucked your face." And I'm like, is that really what the line was? Or was that just the take they kept?
It's almost like that line in Princess Bride where he's like, "You keep saying this, but I do not think you know what it means."
Yeah, exactly. Now, is that before or after he kills Susie?
So he kills Susie accidentally at this point, or
with
so he claims.
The tarantulas.
Yeah, he was going to scare her with the tarantulas, and then the tarantulas ultimately killed her.
Oh, we're also way forgetting the fact that Susie is a bad girl, and she asks to go out with Spike. And then Spike basically ditches her to go gamble.
He loves his poker, man. He's a
it's
real
an
rounder. So the moment of this movie that I have always remembered is this poker scene, though, where Hoax
when
crashes,
Hoax shows up.
Yeah, where Hoax crashes the poker scene. He's got the fucking clear visor on and says, "Do you think I can win with a pair of hearts?" And just holds 2 human hearts still beating in his hands. And then he cuts off the one dude's hand and is like, "This is what they call a dead man's hand in this game." Like, there's some really great moments in the scene. This is the scene that I always think of when I'm like, we should pick this movie.
That's the image that is if you were to see this in some sort of magazine or write-up or like whatever about 976
It's that
Evil.
shot. It's the back of the VHS. This is what made me rent it in the first place.
But I didn't, because I was like, that's the one I see all the time. I wanted to do something else. And honestly, I regret it. I wish I just kept that one. It is the best scene of the whole movie.
Hoax then kills his mother, and there is this one bit that I love in this scene where the very first time we meet Hoax, he's eating on the couch, and the parrot in their home is like, "Don't eat on the couch, don't eat on the couch."
Plastic covered couches too.
And then like that, oh yeah, the plastic is all over it, wrapped in plastic. But that's how the mom always knows when someone's doing something on the couch that they shouldn't be. So of course, when he kills his mom and her corpse is bleeding out on the couch, the parrot just starts yelling, "Down here on the couch!" Like it's a nice. It ties it back to the beginning.
Nice callback.
Perfect scripting. No wonder this guy won an Academy Award.
The script. Here's the thing: is he put the energy into that kind of shit and not remembering that this is supposed to be a killer phone line.
Yeah,
it really gets lost halfway through.
And I think what's interesting is that I read somewhere that Robert Englund, when he was going to do, like, he was like, I knew I wanted to direct and I wanted to direct a movie. And he like actively didn't want it to be a horror movie, but then he was handed this script and he really liked it. So at this point, I have no choice but to conclude, is the fault with the guy who wrote 3 scripts that have been nominated for awards? Or is the fault with the actor who's never directed before taking a script and then fucking it up?
I mean, that's a good point, but you're also forgetting possibly the most important person.
This is the second script.
The editor.
The editor wasn't doing any favors for this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hoax kills the mom, and then later they find that many, many cats have been feasting on her corpse. Probably the other like kind of gnarly moment in an otherwise gnarly free movie. Spike comes home and finds that there's now a portal to hell out front of their house. I like that there are both kinds of portals. There's a hot portal and a cold portal. Yeah, because hell froze over.
Which one you want to go to? Hot hell or cold hell?
The cousins fight But Spike is able to reach Hoax's humanity by reminding him that they had plans that summer. They were going to go on a road trip. They were going to get away from the shittiness of this town. And then immediately, while they're bonding, Spike is like, yeah, my cousin's soul is long gone. And then he just yeets this body right into the pit of hell in front. And then that's the end of the bit. Like, it basically wraps up right there. We cut to, like, Satan looking at a binder of some of the souls that he's acquired, and he adds Hoax to the files, and that's...
With a nice headshot.
Yeah.
Hoax, I don't know where Hoax got a headshot.
Yeah, when Hoax took the time for a headshot, I don't know, but he got it.
High school theater's weird, dude.
But yeah, it is this a recommend? Probably not. But I do think that if you were a horror fan in the 90s walking through the video store, you either rented this movie once or twice, or you stopped and looked at that box art, because this is a perfect example of marketing doing the work that the movie should have done.
Yeah.
This box art is eye-catching. The back, I think literally the back of the box is the two goriest moments from the movie with like some text. Like, they knew how to sell this movie way more than they knew how to make this movie. But yeah, I think I agree with your guys' sentiment that, like, outside of like a themed weird ass movie night where this would like fit in somewhere, I don't know how often this is going to go back into the DVD, but I also didn't I didn't hate it in the realm of, this is to me a perfectly fine 80s background noise. Like, if I'm just going to throw on some shit while I'm doing other shit that I don't need to pay attention to, but like every once in a while I might look at the screen and see some hearts beating in somebody's hand. Like, there are far more frustrating movies to put on. This is like a perfect example of when horror was really losing its edge as the late 80s neared and the early 90s were about to happen.
I think it gets more dull upon repeat viewings, which is what we were kind of saying. It's like, if you actually intently watch it with intent, which is, we kind of did, it makes it more dull. But I would, absolutely. This on in the background in that category of films that you can just, there's a bunch of those that you could do this with.
You know what? Here's another suggestion, because these things do exist. If you have a horror themed bar where you're just playing random shit on your TVs, grab yourself a copy of this and just have it on like the rotation of movies, because it is one of those movies where if there's no sound and you're just hanging out drinking with your friends and your eyes keep kind of moving up to the TV, you're going to have a few moments of like, what the fuck is this movie and what's happening?
Yes. That's true. That's exactly where this movie belongs, behind the bar on the TV.
Yeah, that's which
I like that.
mean, that's a spot. It's something.
It's something. At least it has a home.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
What's up, everybody? This is Brian here to tell you about our podcast, Bingetown TV. Our hosts include 7 best friends with a love for all things television. We cover a range of genres with a focus on fantasy and sci-fi, but also dip our feet into drama, horror, comedy, and pretty much anything we think is good television. We use the traditional deep dive formula for new live shows that are released week to week, but our calling card is our Rooks and Vets and Pitchtown TV series. Rooks and Vets pairs 2 of our hosts that have seen a show with 2 of our hosts that have not seen a show. Pitchtown TV is when we have a special guest pitch us a show by having us watch the pilot and trying to convince us to watch the rest. If you're craving more content on some of your favorite TV shows, then you should listen to Bingetown TV. Find us on our website at bingetowntv.com, the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, or wherever else you may find your podcast.
Meanwhile, in New Jersey...
So, Marissa, what talking points do you want to hit on in this week's episode?
Well, Jackie, let's talk about how the film addresses the patriarchy. Ooh, and representation of marginalized people. Ooh, and even philosophical ramifications of good versus evil in horror.
We can point out the triangle boobs, talk about the blood splatter, and the practical effects. And also the male gaze.
My gaze at the males.
Hi-yo! From feminism to fangirling, the Jersey Ghouls cover all the bases of horror from a woman's perspective.
New episodes are uploaded every other Sunday.
Just search Jersey Ghouls to find us on social media and your favorite podcasting app.
We're here to entertain you. We'll sing your songs.
Hey there. Are you obsessed with things that happened before your time? Well, if you are, join me, the host of Before My Time, Kelsey Laurie, to discuss the wonders of the yesteryears that we weren't around to enjoy ourselves. You can find us on all podcast platforms.
Dixieland's a playing, soon you'll be swaying, so come on, sing along.
Hi, friends. The world got you down. Don't be sad. Listen to $2 Late Fee with Zach and Dustin.
$2 Late Fee is the podcast that celebrates the best decade of entertainment, the 1980s. We pick a movie and soundtrack from our youth that we loved and see if it holds up today. We also interview your favorite celebrities from that era.
All in the spirit of positivity and togetherness. Check us out at $2latefee.com.
All right, so again, I did this last week, but I'm going to do it again because I have 3 potential double features here. So I'm going to graciously hand the baton to the two of you and see what remains when y'all are done.
Kyle?
I have a few as well, but what I'm going to do is the first thing I thought of, which is I saw a short recently that is not available, so I'm going to use that as the entry point to what I am going to recommend. Is a short called Heartstopper, which is directed and produced by Jackson Stewart, and it is about a phone line. It's of its time. It's about girls who call up a phone line of a teen heartthrob who had actually just died. And the phone line is. The line is still open, and they basically have a seance through his fan line after his death. That's great. It's fun. Very nod to this. But Jackson directed a movie called Beyond the Gates about another dead technology, timely dead technology of the VHS board game with Barbara Crampton. And Chase Williamson, I think, is in it too. And that's a really fun one. I think that would be a good pairing with this.
Nice. Well, I'm going to go with, I have a couple as well, but I think the strongest contender for me is Black Roses, just because it's kind of about people getting possessed by sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Black Roses, that's fun.
That's a really good one.
I just need another excuse, that's all.
So I'm going to write, so the first instinct that I had was to write Fright Night from 1985 because we're following the exact same journey as Evil Ed in this movie. While we were talking, and specifically while I was looking at the background of Kyle's video, I was like, "Ooh, Trick or Treat wouldn't be a bad option,
dude." And that would go great with Black Roses because
there's a triple feature right there.
He can check the letterbox, but I'm pretty sure that we've been putting Trick or Treat and Black Roses as double features before.
Yeah. Black Roses for sure. But I think there's some Trick or Treat on there too.
But Kyle, for the letterbox, I think the official answer I want to give is EVILSPEAK.
Yeah,
I think that is the obvious answer.
That's the correct answer.
That is the academic answer to the question of what would you watch with this.
And I honestly I think that EVILSPEAK is clearly the better movie, but I think EVILSPEAK also suffers from an ungodly long first act before it builds up steam.
Both of them have the exact same problem.
I think when EVILSPEAK hits its momentum, the momentum is much more entertaining because it's it's Clint Howard with a fucking sword just decapitating people for 15 minutes. Like, that is just so much more entertaining than what they do in this movie. But yeah, I mean, that's clearly the correct answer. And guys, if you disagree with us, tomorrow we're going to be at Creature Feature Weekend in Gettysburg. You can come in.
Fucking faces.
Yeah, tell us to our faces. From March 20th to the 22nd, come and hang out. Go to our website, hmnpodcast.com. Hit up our social media. We're HMN Podcast on everything, but specifically Letterboxd. You can see all of our double features. Patreon.com/HMN Podcast. You can support the show, get a ton of great bonus materials, and you can join the Geekscape Slack. So many things that are to be loved at our Patreon, and hmnpodcast.dashery.com, where you can get all the cool swag that we've been printing, amazing shirts. Listen, go get a Gabagooley shirt. Not enough love hitting the Gabagooley's design. I think that the thing is a fucking masterpiece. And speaking of a fucking masterpiece, I was gracious about the double features. I'm not going to be gracious about the what did I watch this week. I'll go first because I don't think it's a good one to end on, but I loved it. One of my favorite movies I've seen in years. I finally watched The Life of Chuck, which is a film directed by Mike Flanagan, based on a novella by Stephen King, and I believe Stephen King wrote the screenplay. Not a horror movie at all. Nope. This is more of like a fantasy, sci-fi, feel-good dramedy. It's hard to explain, but the basic conceit, without spoiling too much of what makes this movie work, is it's a film that's told in reverse about a guy named Chuck who, when he passes away, the universe ends. And we never get an answer to why that is, but as we move backwards, we see more and more about Chuck's life and all of these different events in his life, and it's told in 3 acts. The second act, even if you think that this movie is not going to be for you, which I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. I even saw a bunch of Letterboxd reviews that said everything about this movie screamed, I am going to hate this, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked it. But the second act is like one of the most joyful 15-minute shorts I've ever seen, which is about a woman busking on the street playing drums, and Chuck becomes so overwhelmed by her drumming that he just breaks out into dance, and like how that like changes the mood for everybody on the street that day, and they all feel a sense of happiness and joy during their miserable day. But it's all done with live drumming. Like, it's not like someone mimicking drums. They brought in a professional drummer to play this role, and it's just like, there's just something about it that's so like 1930s movie musical in its nature, like watching like a Singing in the Rain, where you're just like big smile on your face, like, oh, they're just like dancing their fucking asses off, and I feel so happy about it. It's a delight. It's great. Go see it. That's all I'm gonna say. One of you guys go.
I have the complete opposite of that. It is because you had texted me afterwards and was like, this is just a joy, you're gonna love it. I didn't watch that. I watched Paul Schrader's First Reformed from 2017.
Why?
Which is, well, I am really actively trying to get through my like to watch shelf, because there is my local store has had this incredible collection of used DVDs that they've gotten from somebody up in northern Connecticut who and they have all these. They have these Criterions and these like martial arts films and all these like very specific physical media that I've not seen out in the wild before. This person had a really lovely collection of stuff, which means that I need to start doing the work and not just the collecting. So
sure, yeah.
and I'm I don't know. Part of me with the project that I'm writing was thinking that this could be helpful. It was so devastating, and it's a great movie, but it is a devastating watch. So if you like really heavy religious existential dealings and want to feel bad, you can watch First Reformed.
Yeah.
And I do think it might be one of Paul Schrader's best films overall. Like, I do think that it might be his I don't know if it's his masterpiece, but it is.
I was
up
gonna say
there.
this just in. Kyle likes First Reformed more than Taxi Driver. And Raging Bull. But I remember Brian made us watch that when it was available on streaming at one point.
Man.
And I didn't hate it, but I definitely never want to watch it again. It was one of those
it's a one and done for me.
It was one of those movies where I'm like, you make this 90 minutes instead of 2 hours, and I think it's a more nothing's going to make that movie enjoyable, but it definitely is just hampered in its own message to a frustrating point where you're just like, all right, we get it. Keep the plot moving, buddy.
Yeah. It's a lot to sit in and with. Good new East Coast winter movie.
Yeah, that is true.
Nice.
Okay. It is snowy. It is snowy. And how about you, Scott? Take us home.
You guys are going to make me look really stupid because you both did these are important films to just watch and discuss and digest. And I'm like, hey guys, I watched Godzilla versus Biollante for the first time.
Fuck, dude. I think
I listen.
No, I think for me, you made the right choice.
I'm not saying anything about that, but
I just raved about Life of Chuck, and I still would be like, yeah, I'll watch a fucking Godzilla movie. Put it on right now.
So it's like 1988, 89 when that came out, and I really have a huge blind spot for most of Toho's stuff. But I really love Godzilla King of Monsters. I think that's just like such a great, it's like a comfort movie for me because it has the largest amount of giant monsters beating the shit out of each other to people trying to fix a situation that truly is out of their hands. That's my favorite of all of the current MonsterVerse movies that have come out. I really loved, Kong versus Godzilla. Godzilla versus Kong was great. I didn't really like the new Reign or whatever, new whatever. But I just love monsters. And I know that people are talking about, I think it's either the new season of, what's the TV show that's based on the Monsterverse? Whatever it is. People are probably screaming at their podcast apps right now, but Monarch Legacy.
Yeah.
The question of the new season is whether or not Biollante is going to be one of the antagonists or one of the Titans in it. And I was like, I've always wanted to watch that movie because it seems like the coolest of Godzilla's adversaries.
I'm looking at pictures of Biollante right now, and I'm like, this thing looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's a giant killer plant.
Hell yeah.
And not to say that it's a good movie, because it is incredibly cheesy. And there are a lot of subplots. Now, here's the thing about the Toho stuff is that my expectation that a lot of the movie plots center around a bunch of military dudes standing around a table discussing things to make it 90 minutes long is still true. But there are also some crazy subplots to this where there's like a guy whose wife was a plant psychic who was murdered by mercenaries at the beginning, and her soul resides in a rose bush that he then uses Godzilla cells to mutate, which is what becomes Biollante. So,
what?
It is really, I mean, maybe I may eat my words here, but I would say that of what I know of 80s era and maybe into the early 90s era Toho Godzilla stuff, this is the most Hausu of them. Because it's wild. The decisions are very crazy. I highly expect myself to continue on, not necessarily in chronological order, but there are other ones that I definitely want to check out and I want to talk about on the show.
I was going to say, I want us to do more. Episode. I want us to do more Toho stuff, though. I think that, because even looking at this, I'm reminded that classic Godzilla has this cool Power Rangers level of nostalgia, like in the rubber monsters. But man, the like 80s into the 90s Godzilla stuff just looks fucking great. Like the practicals really in those look fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Biollante is very wet.
Yes.
Like it's very, very oily looking. And so they use a lot of KY on her. Now, the cool, weird shit is that there are apparently like in the stuff that goes into the late 90s, I think right before the MonsterVerse really got ramped up, there are like mutant humans. Now there is also a psychokinetic girl in Godzilla versus Biollante. So I mean that's another subplot that she like communes with the plants and she communes with Godzilla and blah blah blah. I don't know how much of that feeds into the mutants that show up, like these mutant humans that show up in later installments, but I'm very interested in the wackier stuff that they were doing because it really takes it from just rubber suit monsters stomping around, 4-foot tall buildings and people around, like in a war room discussing how to fight a Godzilla Titan level threat. And it becomes like, oh, we have all these crazy things that we're going to try and throw at Godzilla and Godzilla's nemesis for each one. But the thing is that Godzilla kind of is never actively evil. Godzilla is just stomping shit because he doesn't realize, oh, people live here. So you can never be mad at him.
No. He seems more clumsy than anything.
Yeah. Oh, man. He falls on his ass so much in this one. It's great. Highly recommend.
That's why I always thought that Reptar from Rugrats was truly a perfect fictional a alternate representation of what Godzilla was, because I always felt that Godzilla was just a big old toddler have
you watched Shin Godzilla? Because I think that really it's the serious version of what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I need to. I've been recommended that a few. Godzilla generally is such a blind spot for me, and so these kinds of conversations get me excited to watch more of them.
Well, let me screen some more, and we'll bring some stuff onto the show.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
I think that's one of our big blind spots, and I know that sometimes it's like we'll pick it, and it's like, all right, we could get 20 minutes out of this because absolutely fucking nothing happened in this episode or this movie, but every once in a while I feel like we're going to find some hidden gems and it's going to be worth it.
And it's going to be from the late 90s, I think, is what it's going to be.
I think so, probably. Also from the late 90s, most of the picks on the show Horror Movie Night. So if you are liking our conversations, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be back next week with even more Horror Movie Night.
What's up, everybody? This is Brian here to tell you about our podcast, Bingetown TV. Our hosts include 7 best friends with a love for all things television. We cover a range of genres with a focus on fantasy and sci-fi, but also dip our feet into drama, horror, comedy, and pretty much anything we think is good television. We use the traditional deep dive formula for new live shows that are released week to week, but our calling card is our Rooks and Vets and Pitchtown TV series. Rooks and Vets pairs 2 of our hosts that have seen a show with 2 of our hosts that have not seen a show. Pitchtown TV is when we have a special guest pitch us a show by having us watch the pilot and trying to convince us to watch the rest. If you're craving more content on some of your favorite TV shows, then you should listen to Bingetown TV. Find us on our website at bingetowntv.com, the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, or wherever else you may find your podcast.
Meanwhile, in New Jersey...
So, Marissa, what talking points do you want to hit on in this week's episode?
Well, Jackie, let's talk about how the film addresses the patriarchy. Ooh, and representation of marginalized people. Ooh, and even philosophical ramifications of good versus evil in horror.
We can point out the triangle boobs, talk about the blood splatter, and the practical effects. And also the male gaze.
My gaze at the males.
Hi-yo! From feminism to fangirling, the Jersey Ghouls cover all the bases of horror from a woman's perspective.
New episodes are uploaded every other Sunday.
Just search Jersey Ghouls to find us on social media and your favorite podcasting app.
We're here to entertain you. We'll sing your songs.
Hey there. Are you obsessed with things that happened before your time? Well, if you are, join me, the host of Before My Time, Kelsey Laurie, to discuss the wonders of the yesteryears that we weren't around to enjoy ourselves. You can find us on all podcast platforms.
Dixieland's a playing, soon you'll be swaying, so come on, sing along.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.